Today, we're looking at how perspectives influence and impact our relationships. And then, what is it that influences these perspectives? Why is this important, you might say? Well, continue watching and find out. Hello, my name is Kathy, and welcome to this video. After having enjoyed time with his disciples and friends, Jesus, when he was with his disciples, asked them a very important relational question. And it's a question that he's asking us as well, and one we don't need to answer quickly or routinely. So, hang around until the end to see what might help you respond to his question. Also, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget to share the video. Now, let's see what Jesus asked. The Sadducees and Pharisees were always after Jesus for one reason or another. They were not very fond of him and tried in many different ways to make him appear foolish or wrong in the sight of his followers. This never worked, of course, but they didn't give up. So one day they asked Jesus for a sign from heaven. I guess all of his teachings and his exorcisms and his healings were not enough of a sign for them. Of course, Jesus put them in their place, and then he and his disciples just moved on. Now later, when they got where they were going, Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" Perhaps the earlier exchange with the Sadducees and Pharisees prompted him to ask this. But anyway, so Jesus listened to their answers. John the Baptist, Elijah, Jeremiah, or some other prophet. And then he got to the more pertinent question. To his disciples he asked, "Who do you say that I am?" I think this is an important question as we are coming upon the time of year that Christians celebrate Jesus' birth. And regardless of the increased commercialization that this time of year brings, the question is still important, maybe more so than any other time in modern history. Who do you say that I am is a question that we should not answer quickly or with just pat answers, because it's a personal and intimate question. This question is actually as important as your answer because of its intimacy. If we look at this question as if Jesus was directly asking us, there's a lot that we would need to do before we answered. Many people would probably just give a pat answer. They would say, "Oh, the Savior," or "God's Son." But if we slow down and really think about the question, we have a special opportunity that can change us. And the way we answer this question will tell us a lot about ourselves, because we can only answer this question from our personal experience with Jesus. And the question brings us to self-knowledge, and self-knowledge can change us. And as time passes, we grow and change, which would cause our answer to change as well. Self-knowledge occurs with this question because we must look at our own relationship with Jesus in order to respond without just parroting what others have said or routinely mimicking what we've heard. I think an example of what I mean might help a little bit. So let's look at my sister, Vanessa. If Vanessa were to ask family members, "Who do you say I am?" our responses would vary because our relationships with her vary. Farah is her daughter, so her experiences with Vanessa are different than mine. Our mother was, well, her mother, which brings a different relational experience. Tim was her husband. Robin is her best friend. Salita, her older sister, and Carson, her first grandchild. So not only do we each have different experiences with her, but throughout time, those experiences have changed, which also causes our relationship to change. Farah, who is now an adult with children of her own, experiences Vanessa differently than, say, when she was in the 4th grade. Tim experienced her differently in their later years of marriage than in their first year of marriage. So who we say someone is depends on our relationship with him or her, as well as where we are in our life. Now, we may all see the same characteristics about Vanessa: kind, hospitable, generous, funny. But our relationship with her will be different, bringing with it different perspectives. So too, our relationship with Jesus. You also want to imagine Jesus asking you that question, not just asking yourself, who do I say Jesus is? You see, there's no right or wrong answer. And if we look at the question saying, "Who do I say Jesus is?" then unconsciously we might be trying to get it right. So seeing Jesus asking you personally helps you look at your relationship with Jesus and see what it is and what you might want it to be. Who you see yourself to be also has an impact on this question and on the relationship. Do you see yourself as a precious image of the divine or just a wretched sinner? Do you see yourself filled with the grace of God or as unworthy and unable to live out who you are called to be? Do you see yourself as lovable? Do you see your daily life with family and work separate from the salvation afforded to you through Jesus? Or do you realize there's no separation in our daily life in our relationship with Jesus? How you see yourself guides who you are able to become, and all of these impact your relationship with Jesus. And since our relationship with Jesus is grounded in his humanness, a deep understanding of Jesus leads to a deeper understanding of God, because in Jesus we see what a God-filled life can be. And just as Jesus had the power to become what God intended, so too we have the power to become what God intends. And it is through Jesus that we see the type of relationship we can have with God. And this relationship brings God's plan for us to fruition. Thus we, like Jesus, have a meaning and purpose that is played out through our relationship with God. And the type and depth of relationship influences what we can and will do in fulfilling our personal meaning and purpose. And of course, whatever our individual meaning and purpose, it must be fulfilled in love. We also need to look at our circumstances and environment, and regardless of the positive or negativeness that we see there, own the fact that it is our choice how we respond. Additionally, the purpose that it serves in our lives and what purpose we serve is also dependent on us. And by this I mean it's our choice how we respond and interpret our day-to-day work and relationships, from delivering mail to picking up other people's trash to prescribing medication. Finding your purpose and meaning, whatever the circumstance, can bring a positive meaning to your life. Who do you say that I am can help us guide us in finding our personal meaning and purpose. Jesus found his, and so too can we find ours. Mine will be different than yours, yours different than mine. And Jesus' question is also a redemptive one. It's redemptive because it has the ability to free and awaken us as it invites us to discover what we believe and think. It can save us from error. And it is important to note that any dogmatic absolute answers will not redeem or save us from error, but they can certainly oppress us as well as others. We need only to look at history to see this. Dogmatism responds in absolutes, which leaves little room for uncertainty, variations in beliefs, and the mystery of life itself. People seem to want absolute answers, but there are none except for God's love. And only you can answer Jesus' question, but you need to be willing to put pat answers on the shelf and look inside yourself to see what's really there where Jesus is concerned. Who do you say that I am is not a question a pastor, a priest, a friend, a spouse, or a podcaster can answer for you. When Jesus posed the question to the disciples, Peter did not turn to John and say, "John, what do you think?" or "James, what are your thoughts about Jesus?" No, Peter responded out of his personal knowledge and relationship with Jesus. And Jesus did not negate or affirm Peter's answer. He simply stated that flesh and blood, i.e. people, did not influence Peter's answer. And Peter's answer rose out of his personal relationship with Jesus. But even after this assertion about Jesus, Peter wound up denying him. Of course, Jesus forgave Peter just like he forgives us when we deny him. An important note here is to recognize that Peter, unlike Judas, forgave himself. This self-forgiveness enabled him to fulfill the meaning and purpose that he was meant to fulfill. So you are the only one who can answer Jesus' question. Perhaps this is why Jesus told the disciples not to repeat Peter's answer. It is only when you are able to answer the question for yourself that you can fulfill the divine meaning and purpose ordained in you at conception, and perhaps even before. Additionally, even though the core answer may not change, the question is perpetual. And as your relationship with Jesus Christ grows and deepens and new experiences arise, your answer will also deepen. So what can we take away from this to help us ponder Jesus' question? First, what are the preconceived ideas, thoughts, and dogmatisms that prevent you from personally answering the question, who do you say that I am? Second, pick someone who has been in your life for a while. Identify in what capacity you experience him or her, mother, father, friend, boss. Now take a few minutes to examine how your perspective of this person has changed over time. And 3, what specifically has impacted your perspective of them? 4, now think about what has impacted your experiences and perspective of Jesus. 5, imagine Jesus and you sitting around having a cup of coffee, beer, wine, whatever. You have talked about places he's been, things that have happened, things that people have said. And then he looks you in the eye and asks, but who do you say I am? Are you able to respond from your own experience with Jesus, or do you parrot what others have said? As you think on these questions, please feel free to make comments below. I would enjoy hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons and pass this video along to others. Have very happy holidays, and until next time, ponder who you say Jesus is. Thank you.